Deep within these ancient rainforests, on the island of Borneo, live a tribe of nomads called the Panan. Hunting for wild game with their blowpipes and poison darts, they follow the seasons of the ripe forest fruits. The jungle is their home, their culture, their livelihood, their inspiration and their religion, the dwelling place of their forest spirits and sacred graves. They say, this land belongs to the countless numbers who have died, the few who are living, and the multitudes of us yet to be born. The Panan are shy, gentle people who avoid the sun and move through the forest like swift and elusive ghosts, always ready to vanish without trace at the smallest alarm. They have never been headhunters like other Borneo tribes and have survived by helping each other in their daily needs and in times of trouble. They believe that the forest, the earth, the rivers, the stones, every living thing has a soul and an existence of its own. They call this belief adat, which is the balance and harmony each person keeps with all things. Nature is the creator and they are the caretakers of the forest. If they neglect to keep their adat, then trouble will come. There are some Panans the missionaries have found and some that they have not. But regardless of Christian influence, they believe that if you lie, you won't go to the paradise. These nomads live in small family groups. They neither read, nor write, nor reckon the time. They have no money and no possessions except what can be carried on their backs. It has been said that they are dirty, uncultured people who live in the jungle like pigs, their children coughing around. It has also been said that they are really beautiful people with skin like silk and everything they get they share. Their children like princes and princesses. This is what Bruno Manser, a Swiss mountain man, had heard about the Panan when he arrived in Sarawak, a Malaysian state of Borneo, in search of an adventure that most of us could only dream about. We too came to these remote mountain forests to meet with the nomads and Bruno Manser. Finally, after many weeks' travel, there on a steep hillside, a little away from a Panan village, we found Bruno. A curious man, an adventurer, philosopher, writer, illustrator, an amateur anthropologist. Some people say he is a naive idealist from the 60s. Some say he should go home. Some say he is a saint. If not for Bruno, it is unlikely that the story you are about to hear would be told. He has been to the Panan a window for their experience and a shoulder for their sorrow. I asked him once, Bruno, maybe before you had a past life as a Panan. He looked up with his quizzical look and said, maybe before I had a past life as a Swiss.
I have already been leaving Switzerland with the intention to meet the Panan tribes in Borneo and to join their life for a couple of years. I have been walking alone, and after 10 days walk, I reached the Penans in the Ubung area. There have just been 2 families, and they have been very shy and anxious. And then I just put my hand high and said, "Oh, I'm from there. My name is Bruno." That's all I could say in Penan language. Of course, at first I thought I would be a headhunter, something like this. But then after some 2, 3, 4 weeks, then we got a bit used together. They look, of course, to all the white people as they look to them up, that I'm joining their poor life without salt, without rice, without sugar, without anything, and that I also hurt with them, and that I also are hungry with them.
And have you found it hard yourself?
I have been suffering up to now to get used of this style of life. Well, it was all new for me. I had to get used of it and to all the food. It was my first time I eat sago and whatever. But I have already been living far from towns up in the mountains as a shepherd the last 6 years before I came here. I did not know about their problems about logging before I came here. For me it was just a question of experience. Well, there have been reports in a Malaysian newspaper which turn a bit away from the truth. For it was just big noise with headlines about the white Tarzan, about the short-time hero living in these jungles of Sarawak. Cheating the Penans, who wants get the big hero, who even the Penans would carry him around when he is tired, and such bullshit. But these reports didn't point at all the matter of fact that these last primary jungles here are getting locked from civilized, already well situated people with good education against the will of these last nomadic people, which just know their language, who just know about hunting and working sago. And this logging will cause the end of the whole culture and of the style of life.
Ame senang moko, ame jian moko, itong tapan mi.
He says, well, the company entered these grounds maybe 4, 5 or 6 years ago. And this makes our life hard, for we take water from the river, we take our fish from the river, we find all of our food we find in the jungle. And this is all going destroyed. The water is dirty. The wild boars and the wild game is fleeing or is killed by the loggers, and we are now like fish thrown on the land. The jungle is like all the trees, they are like our home, like our house. Even the little trees, we need them. But now some few of us, they follow the company, they get corrupted. The company knows to make a bit the dollar sweet to their mouth, but most of us, we don't eat dollars. We eat the heart of the palm, we eat the wild boar, we eat the sago. Of course, when we see our land getting destroyed and we hear the noise of the bulldozers destroying our land, how can we not be sad and angry? Of course, they look at it as an injustice. They know that their fathers and grandfathers have been living here and they don't know. They reply, for instance, when they are angry, why don't you listen to us? If you come to join our woods, then you should also allow to us to go downriver to your shops and just take. And then you shouldn't punish us, for that's what you're doing with our lands.
Bopeoban mela abe bari itu moko mi. Tapi itong aming isiruhira labe bari itu itong taman itong tinen abe anak.
And then his friend says, yeah, now we are, if I use a picture, we are like a child in the empty hat. And the child, he doesn't know to look for food himself. So that's how we look at you, the white man or whoever from outside. We look at you like a father and a mother who can help the child who does not know to look. We don't know anyway what help you can bring us. We have to take it. The old style, the old tradition, all of us we knew, and we say we had a good life. We could dance and we could sing. But now, the style from now, we don't know that style. We are not used to. And we don't say we have it easy.
Melayu, hore perang, hore papatay, hore paketu syah-syahau.
The Penan has not this consciousness like maybe like people for our modern world, which see it's a different way. Like the tribal people, they are still near nature, and what they do is to be. And like in civilization, our be has transformed in just to have. We have to show who we are with what kind of things we have, maybe with titles or with our possess, and this falls away with the Penan. So it's very natural. Of course, now maybe also he buys a watch and can show he has something from outside, or he is better than others. But in fact, what me attracts is this naturality. He goes and pants for a wild boar. If he doesn't get one, he won't be angry. But then he will go the next day again, and when he gets one, he will carry it back, and he will be really tired. But then he takes out his flute, and then after meal he will play flute and will be happy. It was just life gives to him. There are around 50 fully nomadic families with about 200 members. And there are altogether maybe over 600 Penans together with the settled, 650 around.
Now 651, including yourself?
Well, the Penans already call me by name, Lucky Penan. This means the Penan man. For I have somehow adapted their style of life, and I'm a brother of them or their friend.
Tu salune ka de pertama perlu ka ju ame bari poh tengera ka bari poh tengera ame ona jah kole kere lebat jalan tau sita bari ju sita lu pertama boka pemong lu kelebe ira habe kelebe ka Apa itu pemung keluputaan kalau yuk putui kelepuran dalam ni peloh ji batai lah. Be putu.
What's most impressive is the social context in which they live, that they share everything they get in the jungle. And this is something I myself, I get shy when I think about our civilized people, how we share what we get. We are really big egoists, and the Penan, I have really big respect for them. That's something I have to learn.
Gimana Jawa Barabilong? Besok kumapu kibu Jawa, besok kumababu.
Bruno, I know these men have children and grandchildren. Could you please ask them what the future holds for them?
Kino ka laki jauh atau ka kekat ka punanak. Kino ayo ka saru kekat anak ka wam. Mungkinan ino jalan urip ira.
Tu cah tong tanah lu nah ini be nah. Anak lu wam kekadayam lu wam ni. Kalau
That's exactly what makes our hearts feel sad, for we think about our children and about our grandchildren, from what they will live. When all the sago palms, jaka, wood are killed and all the animals are killed, from what will they live? So that's the reason why we don't like our land to destroy it. For us, there is still some food, but if the companies don't stop work, so we don't see. Maybe we'll all die.
Probably the last hunters and gatherers in Sarawak, you said, in Borneo. And how long do you think they have if the logging goes ahead at this rate?
Maybe 6 years, this area here will be logged from all the sides. It's not for a long time, maybe 10 years. I don't think that it will be for 10 years, maybe 5, 6 years the area can be logged.
And then what happens to the Penang?
Of course, they get civilized. Or how do you spell? Civilized. Civilized.
And they move to where?
They have no possibility to move anywhere again. That's the way of the nomadic tribes in the past. The companies coming, then they are going to another place. But now the companies are like in a scissors. They are like between. They can't go to any other place where there is still primary jungle.
Lagi, satu kali lagi.
Timber is big business in Sarawak, and nowhere in the world are the forests disappearing so fast. In the last decade, Malaysia has earned over $10 billion from its Sarawak logging operation and is the world's largest exporter of tropical hardwoods. The Penang hear the chainsaws day in and day out and are desperate as they watch their food trees fall. They are already into the heart of the last paradise from two sides, says Bruno. A Penang man related a story of a logging manager who tried to give him a $100 note as compensation for the destruction of the graves of his parents. I told him that, dead or alive, our bodies were not for sale, and pleaded with him that if they had so much money already, to please leave our land alone. But he just laughed and said, "Take this money or you'll get nothing." The Penang have asked the government for help, but have received only empty promises, and now the logging companies even threaten the Penang.
The company, they went to the Penangs and told them, "At daylight I work on my tractor, but at night I come to your settlement and I will kill your children," to threaten them. Or the manager, another example, threatened them. He said, "I will call tailed men which use blowpipe with poison darts to help me if you want to block us, and they will kill and eat you." So that's the way the company reacts on this peaceful race who is just affected by logging and doesn't see any way to stop it. They try it in peace, nobody's listening to them. They go and talk to the manager or to the government representatives, nobody's listening to them.
Sarawak's virgin forests are disappearing at double the rate of destruction of the forests of the Amazon. The timber taken from the lands of tribal people ends up in the homes around the world as building materials, furniture, packing cases, and even disposable chopsticks. Licenses to cut the timber are owned by a small group of powerful elite and prominent politicians who sell, subcontract, or give licenses away to relatives and friends for presents and political favours or to bankroll expensive election campaigns. The same licences are then sold and resold for millions of dollars profit. The forests are logged at the rate of 270,000 hectares each year and then trucked off to the coast to be shipped to the timber-hungry world. Buyers, mostly Japanese, inspect the cut logs and only take selected species. The ones they don't want wait in piles to be perhaps bought next year for a cheaper price. The rest are mostly left to rot.
Like the tribes here, I mean, it's somehow out of their experience. They have been living in peace for hundreds of years, and they are not really poor. As long as their jungle stays as it is, as Mother Nature, they will have enough food. And when they have enough food, they are like in the paradise. This little girl, it's a native girl. It doesn't know to write and to read and anything. But I tell you one thing, this little girl has more ethic, is richer in spirit than a lot of these managers of logging companies or even high government representatives. This little girl, it cares around his brother. It already knows to make baskets. It's going and pick up firewood. When I want to kill the monkey, which has bitten her, like a pet monkey, so she said, oh, don't kill him by blowpipe, for she has heart. Although she's hurt, the blood is running, she still has heart with the monkey. Really, I can weep when I think about these bloody, stupid natives, as they are called by other people. And when I look at the civilized people and look at their way they trade now, the natives, I could weep. Myself. Well, myself also, I can walk and then my leg hurts or whatever, and then I want to curse, and then it's raining and all the leeches or whatever, and then you ask, what the hell, for what all do you this? And then maybe you see a beautiful mushroom or whatever, and then you already know that's already enough. That's your wages, and this makes your heart happy, and it's just a little thing. Also in the Swiss mountains, you find a little crystal or a hat of a snail, and this already makes you happy. Well, other people say, crazy people, they look for snail hats, or they look for a little crystal or a nice pebble in the water, and he is happy. Of course, for I'm maybe a bit too extremist. Even, I mean, who said it, Minister of Environment here, he also pointed to me as a crazy man. But then I had just to reply, if the politicians here and those bosses of the companies, if they show the way of life, then I prefer to be crazy as I am than to follow their style.
What started out for Bruno as a life experience has turned into a very dangerous situation. Bruno has become one with the plight of the Panan, and has spoken to journalists from the outside world whenever he's had the opportunity. He is accused by the government of inciting the Penans to fight the logging companies, when in actual fact there have been clashes between the Penans and the logging companies well before Bruno arrived. The Sarawak officials have denounced him as a communist and a Zionist. One day, while Bruno was attending a gathering, he was questioned by an off-duty policeman who thought it rather strange that a European was dressed as a Penan. He found that Bruno had no valid entry visa and asked him to come to the nearest large town. On the journey downriver, Bruno escaped by diving into a deep ravine and running off through the jungle as they fired warning shots over his head.
But of course, if they really would have liked to kill me, they could have burned some holes into my back, no problem. At last, when they have left and confiscating my main work of my studies, maybe around 300 pages with drawings and writings, and my notebooks, my Penan dictionary, around 3,000 expressions, and that they also afterwards, they confiscated my whole jungle gear, my medicaments, my pants, my fishing net. This is to say, if I would force them to live in these jungles like my own, I think they would already have died. Now they are driving on these logging roads far deep into Penan lands. It's nearly Erie Valley now. For the company, they have a lot of different roads where they are driving on. So these roads, which are like disease, enter the jungle up to the springs. And in this steep terrain, it's of course really a lot of erosion. When there are big rains, so it's always falling down again and they get bigger. Some of those erosions, they can have 200, 300 or 400 meters long, like from the road down rivers. So the rivers, they turn muddy. Some of the most demanded fish, some of them die, they cannot survive in dirty water. The road is the beginning of the end, not only for the jungle, but for all its inhabitants and their culture. It causes the end of their culture and of the paradise.
teluk lah siapa be tanak me tu be ponurip metong be ponoko me bari reh tai rai.
Within 1 year or in the next year, if the company cannot be stopped, it will be too late. Even not 1 year, maybe 3 months if the company really drives on the logging roads. You walk on foot. Within 1 week, you can pass our whole land. It's not a big land. But if our land is destroyed, that's like our death.
Be tanak nah jauh lah.
Of course, government is now trying to educate the Penan to get settled, to breed up cattle. Maybe I heard about such events in Long Napir. The Penans have to starve the nomads if they don't settle down, if the region is getting locked.
Even if they settle down, will they be happy?
Look at the settled Penans here. Are they happy? Go to Longbakko. Are they happy? They have a rotten hat, just some old holy tins as roof. They have some bounded, sawed, planches, which the company in any case has no use of, and their jungle are empty of wild boar, they are empty of wild game, and their sago palms are already, majuk from the Baldazers. And so all the Penan tribes around here, also those which are already settled, they also depend on their jungles. Their shifting cultivation doesn't give them enough.
The promise of a better way of life, if they settled down, has been a bitter disappointment for most Penan. They have at best received only the crumbs of the supposed benefits of so-called development. Out of a group of 4,000 tribal children studied for protein deficiency, 92.3% of Penan children under 9 were found to be suffering moderate to severe malnutrition. This ranks amongst the worst of any country in the world. A third of all native people are facing a shortage of food. Few can read, most have no electricity or clean running water, and live on the baseline of existence. They are heartsick and broken in spirit and yearn for the old life that has come to an end and wondering why. This is the longhouse at Leon. A few Penan settled here and began to farm rice, and the men still try and hunt in the log forest. While we were there, the hunters returned to the kampong after 3 days trying to find game. They had one barking deer the size of a small dog, which had to go round the whole tribe.
Good to see you. How many people are living here now? There are 13 families here in this kampong. How is your livelihood here? Is it still as easy to find your food to survive? Before it used to be easy to look for food. But now it is very difficult since the companies have come to log the forest around our settlement. Have you spoken to any government officials regarding your problems here? I've spoken to many people, including the former state secretary, the resident of the 4th Division, and the district officer. What was their reply to you when you informed them of your problem? They made a lot of promises, but so far there is nothing which has been done by them about our problems here. What specifically did they promise to do for you about your problems? What they promised was that they would build us a new house and do a lot of projects for us to improve our livelihood. But so far, even these things have not been done. What did they promise about your land? They said they will do something to give us land. We have even returned to them and asked them to make an official confirmation, but they never replied to our letter. So what do you feel now, that despite the promises made to you, they still have not done anything about those promises? I'm still very confused about what would be our future, because they continue to ignore us like this. You Penan here, you own the land, but they disregard your rights as traditional owners. What do you say about this? I feel very bitter about it, especially when you see the state of our house and you look around at the devastation of our land now. All our rivers are polluted, so how can we get fish from the rivers now? There is no other thing. We only need land so that we can continue to survive. That's what we always tell them.
Penan are very bitter and disappointed over the lack of help they've received. The ones who've given up their forest life to settle down have still found the company ending up at their back door. They should have asked. That's what visitors would normally do, but they just come and steal our lands. And we are illiterate and we don't know what to do to even get compensation for our damaged crops. And at best, compensation has been small or in the form of token handouts. When the Malaysians came to power in 1963, they used existing British land laws, which they altered and tightened to the extent that very few tribal people have customary land rights to their own lands. These rights, where they do exist, can be revoked at any time by the government and revert to the state. Publication of the Minister's decision is announced in the Gazette, and 6 weeks after this notification, native customary rights automatically cease to exist. In most cases, tribal people who cannot read or write and live far away aren't even aware of the loss. For the few native people who can afford to fight the logging companies in court, the case takes 12 to 13 years to come before the judge, and in the meantime the forests are destroyed, causing suffering and ending in the tribal people becoming landless in their own land. Their self-respect beaten, their families sick, their children growing up with not enough land to go around, they finally head for the towns only to end up as the poor, the forgotten and the dispossessed. The lucky few become office boys and clerks, the women mostly bar girls and prostitutes. This is Long Bagan, where 300 Penan have settled for 20 years. Their forests too have been logged, their orchards, property and ancestral graves all destroyed. Some of them work for the company with wages that are so low that they're run into debt at the company store. On our arrival, they held a meeting to tell us their problems.
What do you feel about the presence of the company here?
Inala keke kanaha. Luar telu itu ni temu ngan kisi nestahau raya. Ame penan.
I've been here since long before we first even came in contact with any government. And in all that time we could just go a short way and find animals and fish. But now, you look at the stream nearby. We cannot use that water anymore. Many of our children have experienced stomach sickness and suffer from skin diseases caused from the polluted water. Before all this started, the government treated us well, but now with the presence of the company, it causes a lot of problems that we never had before. We really dislike the company and don't want them to be here. I really dislike the company and don't want them to be here. As you can see, here is the life of us Penans. All our products come from the forest. are things made from rattans like these mats for processing the sago. With these things we could also earn some money. The government would give us money for our baskets and mats and jungle goods, and we could buy pots and knives. But now the rattans are no more. There are no more of these things here.
Lem kenin ke tong company ya. Uban aku jam dekat penusai lepas terjadi lem lebo
As for
ami.
me, and in my opinion, how the outside people can assist us is to stop buying the timbers.
Stop harga.
And for our part here, we will do something to try and stop the companies from operating. When we do this, maybe the company will have to stop logging. But the government did inform us that the company is coming to bring development. But in our opinion and our experience, what we receive is not development, but destruction.
Ame terima penusaha awak. Menu jalan ame saat kenin. Aku panen hun itu.
He says, as for me, what I feel when I think of our life and I think of our problems is that we lived well before, but where is that life now? All the sago and all our edible palms and trees that give us the poison for our darts, all these are gone now. All the resources that we have here now are all gone. They're all bulldozed. Before, when we first came in touch with the government officials, we have been advised to go and settle near the riverbanks so we can live in a longhouse, in a community. And it would be easier for us to be in contact with others, near to those with knowledge who could slowly teach us to lead a better life than what we were used to in the jungle. But now we are here, this is what we see. The company is coming here now and destroying everything we have. They treat us very badly, and if they continue to treat us like this and never listen to what we say, then if something bad is going to happen, we are not to be blamed. We have tried to talk with them, we have tried to discuss things with them, but they never listen to us.
Between April and November 87, over 600 people in the Baram and Limbang regions erected blockades across their lands. The settled Penans joined the nomads, and some Kayan and Kelabit communities also joined them. They said, "The logging companies behave like thieves and treat us like dogs. Our patience has ended. Politicians call us animals, but we are fighting for our very lives. We have nothing more to lose." They threw up their barricades across strategic logging roads and issued dark warnings about the accuracy of their blowpipes and how silently fatal they could be if anyone was foolish enough to destroy their trees. The logging companies stopped. Next, police, paramilitary and company officials came in land cruisers and helicopters to negotiate. In one incident, Dennis Long, Limbang forest officer, arrived with his helicopter and stepped out with a priest and a Bible, saying, "Let us pray, dear Lord. We are all brothers in your name. Please soften the hearts of the Penan that they open the blockade and don't get lost on the Christian way. Amen." And then a Penan man replied, "Yes, God, you created this earth, and is it your will that the people are stealing and destroying our land, even without asking us? We are all praying too, and if Dennis Long is lying, and he too wants to steal our land, and you will know him, and you will punish him." And so it went on for 8 months. Finally, in November, 60 police arrived at this particular blockade while the men were away hunting. They pointed their M16s at women and children and burnt their huts and blockades to the ground. The men returned to find their families terrified and their blockade over.
We came from 4 uprivers and we had to walk how many days to go to the blockade. And when we arrived the logging road, we had to walk in the hot sunshine, and our children, they sank in the mud of, like wild boar, they sank in the mud of the bulldozed ways. And then we stayed there and had a poor life. But that's why we want to defend our land for we think about our children and our grandchildren. They don't know anything. They need support.
Pasanami irai nihme mano ngeget chahurai.
We have tried to bring the situation to a better. We made a blockade, but we lost. For police came and destroyed our blockade and burned it down. We have just been standing by. We didn't do anything. We could just look how they destroyed our blockade. And now we got treated not like human beings, but just like short-tail and long-tail macaques. They don't listen to us. We are afraid now. We are afraid. When we try to stop the company, then we will be arrested. But we don't have any ringgit, we don't have dollars. Who will bring us out from jail? Who will feed our women, our children when we are in jail? Now when you ask about jail and police, of course we are afraid, she says, for we don't know their style, we don't know their adet, we don't know how they will treat us, and they are going to threaten us, and we don't know how far it's true or whatever. We are afraid, for we don't know.
Their spirits low, the Penans now face fines of 6,000 Malaysian dollars or 2 years in jail if they blockade again. The police stay on in their lands protecting the logging operators, and commandos are on the lookout for Bruno. A Penan man says, forest workers shouldn't be surprised if poison darts are soon flying past their ears. Soft water wears away the hard stone, says Bruno, and still talks to them of Gandhi's non-violent change. And meanwhile, the police and logging companies wave fistfuls of money at the Penans, and 85,000 Malay has been offered to say where Bruno is hiding.
Bruno, this business with being made a security risk. You must realise that being a security risk means that they could possibly take your life. They could possibly shoot you. They have the legal right now to shoot you.
Well, about life, I think I'm not afraid to die, for I know every one of us has to die one day. And if my time will come, so I have to accept it, but of course I like my life. And as long as I can stay alive, I will do my best to do it. But of course I hope that the government here, if the government acts in this way, so the government, I would say, is itself criminal. For I didn't kill anybody, I didn't steal anything from anybody. I've just been living somehow in peace and in agreement and in community with the original tribes of this region. In fact, all these people who disturb the peace, although they have the name government, they are all strangers to this region. This is what gives me somehow the right to stay here. I mean, if the Penans would tell me, oh, we don't like you to stay here, go home there. We don't like you. Today I would leave, I wouldn't stay.
Bruno wrote us this letter shortly before we finished the film. We from the modern world, from Japan, USA, Europe, Australia, are all responsible for the destruction of the last primary forests and the livelihood of its dwellers. For it is we who consume the tropical timbers, and it is we who give loans and machinery which makes the devastation possible. So it is we who have to find a remedy for quick relief. Worldwide protests are needed demanding an immediate stop to the logging in the Ulu Limbang and Tuto and Baram districts. Stop loans for projects and try and block the timber trade from importing tropical timbers from Sarawak. Every solution we would welcome. If the companies are not stopped within 1 year, they will draw their logging roads further on into the heart of the paradise, and it will be too late. The last jungle nomads and their culture will be distincted from the earth. For them, Bruno Manser.